This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Welcome back to another edition of Copy Chief Radio. Today, Chiefs, we have something special for you. You want to tell them about it, Kevin?
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Patty, how's it going? It's great to have you on with us.
It is a great pleasure to be here. I can check it off the list of things that or podcasts that I've wanted to be on. I so respect what you're doing, Kevin, in so many ways, certainly in Copy Chief and what you've created. So I absolutely love it. I'm super stoked to be here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And, I got to thank you for being such an active member of Copy Chief. You're in there all the time and you're, wicked supportive to anybody who's got an issue that you can contribute to. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be so much fun to have you on for a few reasons. You and I have a lot of the same passions in our business, things we do and things we spend our time on. Number one would be what we're doing right now is podcasting. You have a very popular podcast that I've had the pleasure to be on. So tell me about your show and what you love about it.
All right. So Boss Free Society started in February of last year. And literally it just happened because so many people would ask me, how did you quit your job? So I used to have a corporate job and literally I went through this internal crisis of I can't do this anymore. I'm just bogged down by the pain of having to go to work. I mean, I'd be sick every Sunday thinking about having to go to work. And so long story short, I planned my whole transition out of having a job. Now I had a long tenure in corporate. So long story short, so many people would come up to me and be like, gosh, how did you do it? I could never do what you did. I'm like, what do you mean? How can you do it? Well, there's a lot of planning that goes along with that. And so a friend of mine, Tim and I thought, hey, let's put a podcast together and just exploring kind of the mindset aspect of what it takes to go to become an entrepreneur, to have the habits, the skills, the mindset to make it happen. So it's really a combination of Tim and I talking about different topics, a lot of the mindset stuff, and then the other side of it, having the pleasure of interviewing some incredible entrepreneurs who have made it happen so that people who are hearing it, it's not a canned type of show where there's a sequence of questions. It's kind of free flowing. It's however it goes. And truly the intention there behind every show is to offer just one nugget of value that people can walk away with being like, boom, this is exactly what I needed. So It's been awesome. It's been a great experience so far.
That's so cool. And
hey, sorry to interrupt, guys, but I was just going to go grab a coffee. Do you guys want anything?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, Patty, you want a coffee or something?
Yeah, I'll have coconut sugar in mine. I don't do soy milk though, so.
Coconut sugar? I haven't heard of that.
Oh, it's good. You can get it at Trader Joe's.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out. All right.
Yeah.
So black with coconut sugar?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Jonathan.
That's the ticket.
Yeah, and you want a Starbucks? All right, I'll take the just order a hot Oprah. It's the Oprah chai latte.
Oh, it's the chai. That's right.
Yeah, I always just order a hot Oprah. They'll know what you mean. They might look at you funny. All right, thanks, dude. How do you like having a partner on your podcast?
I actually really like it a lot. I think that there's a level of synergy that obviously you have to have. And the one thing that helps us greatly, both in the podcast side and the other projects that I'm working on, is I'm telling you, the best thing I ever did was I took improv. I know that sounds completely nutso, but last year, somebody planted the seed of challenge in me and said, hey, if you want to get out of your comfort zone on stage, take improv. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. And oh my gosh, I became completely obsessed with it. I just love it. Wow. The whole think on your feet, the yes and just plussing commentary and just being real free flow about where you could take the conversation. I highly recommend improv. It's been really great in terms of thinking on your feet in that moment and just being okay with being self-conscious about where the conversation could go and knowing that it's going to organically go where it needs to go. And so Tim, my podcast partner, he's done improv. He's done Second City. He's a public speaker. So he just has that innate ability. And I don't know, it just works, you know? So that's what I'd say. It's just that synergy that happens when you're kind of on that same page. It's really, really rich.
Yeah, you guys have very good chemistry. It does kind of make it easier too, doesn't it? It's like, I did a lot of solo shows for Truth About Marketing, and so far having Jonathan on this one, just always there, it just, makes it a lot easier to have someone to talk to or at sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then you look at podcasts like Joe Rogan, right? Or how Howard Stern has always done it.
Right.
Howard Stern, which is huge of a personality as he is, just having Rob in there. And I know he said that he's like, I couldn't do my show if I didn't have her.
Yeah.
So it's just the compliment to plus the conversation where it's going. And over time, I don't know, there's just this cohesiveness that happens where, like, if I'm having an off day with someone, I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling it. Just kind of carry the torch for me ahead or whatever. It's just really nice.
Yeah.
And it just adds a casual tonality to where you take the conversation,
Right.
I think.
Yeah. I love what you said about improv, because doesn't it really instantly change how you enter every conversation, or at least engage people, right? Like just yes and alone is such a huge business lesson.
Oh my
or
God.
a networking thing. And if for people that are listening and don't know what that means, it's essentially just this. It's kind of like the number one rule of improv. If like two people are in a scene and they say, and the one person goes, "Oh wow, that UFO is landing," and the other person goes, "I don't see a UFO." Well, then you have nothing's happening. This is just stupid friction, and there's two people arguing over whether there's a UFO or not. But if you go, yes, it is landing, and it's being flown by Scooby-Doo, or whatever, then you're just having a good time, and you see where it goes from there, and that's the fun of it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I love it. I love that whole premise of like, wherever it goes, man, it's where it's going to go.
Yeah. And don't you find yourself, like, if you're talking to somebody who is negating a lot, you're like, man, please, like, take an improv class. I can't talk to you.
And like you're holding on to the seed of potential. Like, where can we take this? Because that's happened to us before, literally less than a handful of times when you're on a podcast and the guest is just flat. And you can't really take it anywhere, and it's just painful to get through. Yeah. And so the yes and kind of helps when you're analyzing what they're saying, and then your co-host is helping. Yes, I highly recommend. That's improv.
I gotta say that I don't think that's really happened to me too much yet, but I get it with hosts all the time. Because don't you ever get that when you're on somebody's show and the host is like totally canned and flat, and you'll like give what you feel like is some dynamic answer, and then there's a weird pause, and they go, "Okay, Kevin, what do you find is the most challenging part?" And you're like, "What? Really? Is this happening?" It's nothing like, and you can't force it to be conversational.
Right. Well, and it's because people have to stick to the script, and they're not really ad-libbing through. They're like, the script doesn't take me to where the conversation is going. Yeah. And then they just get completely locked down. It's like, come on, man.
When I get annoyed, I start just at the end, I'll say, "What about you?" And I'll make them, and it'll freak them out. They're like, that was, like you said, that wasn't in the script,
That's hilarious.
I'll tell you a real quick funny story. I don't want to take up our time with my stories, my comedy stories, but you'll appreciate this because we're talking about improv. So doing a lot of road gigs, and a buddy of mine named Mike Lucas was a great comic improviser. He was one of the few stand-ups who really embraced improv and kind of studied both, right? Because there was always this weird little war between, especially in Chicago, the stand-ups and the improv. We all would always mock each other,
Exactly.
And so Mike was really good at improv. And so we were doing a 2-week string of gigs, a lot of one-nighters, and there's always some radio show in the town. And very often the host will be like that. They'll ask you for questions, and then they'll sit there and read them. And the minute you start answering, they're off looking for the next record or doing whatever they got to do. I just dated myself. They're looking for a record. It's Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati. That's actually so. So Mike and I go, dude, that's what's going to happen when we walk in here. So I go, here's what we'll do. I go, let's write each other's questions, and you can't see them. Right. So we write each other's questions and hand them to the DJ, and we have no idea what the guy's going to ask us. All we know is it's going to be something crazy, Right. So like Mike had been on the Jay Leno show, and I wrote the question, and the guy's like, "Okay, so Mike, it says here you have a funny story about Jay Leno's dog." And Mike's like, yeah. It was crazy, dog. I was running around. You just have to make this thing up. It was hilarious. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. See, and I would die laughing. I'm like, man, they really nailed me with that one. All right, I'm going to take it because it's kind of a challenge,
That's the fun of it.
Exactly.
It keeps you in the moment. It was like the best one we've done. So, cool. All right. So, Patty, love your show. Love that your podcast. And so this is that the crux of your business, the podcast, or? So
the podcast is literally just a labor of love.
Okay.
It's just something that we put out there. We're going to be adding more content in terms of saying like, okay, how can we monetize it step further? So that's really the plan for this year. But beyond that, my real business of how I make money is in consulting. And I have a partnership with my partner, Pamela Herman, and we have createbuzznow.com. And basically what we do is we help small businesses get customers and keep customers. So it's everything that goes along with that.
Okay.
We have a video show that we just started called The Morning Wood Show. It's spelled
Nice.
It's spelled Wood is spelled WOULD. And
good.
it's so funny because whenever we talk about it, people stop. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, the morning wood, So it's just kind of a play on things that we see on social media, small business, et cetera. It's so much fun.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a video show, you say?
Yeah, it's a video show. We're actually going to start posting it on iTunes as a vlog or whatever, like a video podcast type deal.
Oh, is it on Blab now, or how are you recording
No,
it? Just
we
on
were
Skype
gonna.
like this?
Yeah, so it's just on Skype. It's just us, and we literally riff. She's another one, so good at just catching a cue and taking it further. And we just, oh my gosh, we riff all the time and just all kinds of topics. It's so much fun. I love what I'm doing right now.
That's great.
Hugely rewarding.
Isn't it great to wake up and just have fun and go, am I seriously getting paid for this? This is great.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I want to talk about your experience inside of Copy Chief a little bit, because to me, you exemplify someone who, takes it for all it's worth. Like when I dreamed up what people might get out of a community like this, you're what you do with it is exactly what I had in mind, right? So, for people that don't know, there's a lot of trainings. So as a business owner, I look at it, we have like two customer avatars on the business owner side. It's either someone who wants to come in, improve their copy, or, learn how to write copy quickly. Or it's somebody who comes in and they just need to hire a good copywriter, right? But you've done both, actually.
I have. I'm a bit of a hybrid for you, and I'll tell you, I heard about Copy Chief when you're on some podcast, couldn't even tell you what podcast it was. So that's the endorsement of why people should be podcasting. Yeah. It's just a great way to get tentacles out into the social media ecosphere to be promoting your brand. So highly, highly recommend podcasting. Sorry, segue. How I got into Copy Chief was I heard you on a podcast. I jumped in, and to be honest with you, there was a bit of ignorance around the value that I had in my head of what copywriting was all about. And I think it's just a matter of the education piece of it. It's like people focus on the social media or how to build the funnel or here's the tactics behind doing it. But people don't really understand from my vantage points, as long as I've been an entrepreneur, is really the power of copywriting. And unless you're really knee deep into it, I learned so much jumping in that, to be honest with you, at the beginning it was a little intimidating. I was like, oh my gosh, these people are like super into this whole copywriting thing. And that's not my,
copy nerds everywhere.
they're nerding out. But I'll tell you what was interesting to me is I went through my personal evolution in Copy Chief, where I was just taking a look at what is it that made copywriting so significant as part of this whole sales process and influence. To be honest with you, again, it's like a lack of awareness. So once I understood the true value proposition by diving into the different trainings that were out there, then I said to myself, holy crap, I don't have that level of expertise, right, to write copy. And so as Pam, my business partner, Create Buzz, we were putting together email autoresponders and copy. We're like, Pam, I can go to Copy Chief. There's like a whole brigade of amazing copywriters that are like, they are purists, right? Not posers. So I went in there and I posted, and John from your group, amazing, like nailed the tonality of what it is we wanted to achieve. And just was so good. I can't even emphasize.
John Belkowitz.
John Belkowitz is he's boss.
Yeah,
like he's just over the top. And he's funny as hell, by the way.
Yes. He's a ball buster. He's on me all the time.
Fun. He's hilarious. So he fit right in, provided us with initial copy. And then as I started to really understand where, again, that value proposition happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm loving this. I'm loving how this power of influence via your copy can be so significant of a driver in telling your story. And I'm kind of a branding nerd. That's my background. So really connecting the two just seems so seamless to me. I mean, it's that continuum,
Right.
Really amplifying what this whole brand work that you're doing via copy at just a greater degree. So that's literally what I found in your group is just by engaging and just being transparent, be like, look, guys, I'm a small business owner. I'm new. I'm posting these questions. They may seem so ridiculous. So I just put myself out there in that respect and just took advantage of all the trainings that are out there. And so many people don't. It's such a disservice because it's all there.
Right.
You just have to apply it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, that's a good reminder that people do come in a little intimidated. Somebody just posted up the other day, a new member, and he's like, I've been thinking of this for a year, and I finally have the courage up and kind of apologizing for what he doesn't know. And
that's how I felt, Kevin, actually.
Isn't that funny? And then, like Ross came in and was like, what? I felt the same way, a year and a half ago. Now Ross is the marketing director of Copy Chief, and to think that he felt intimidated. And, it's like a really important reminder because that was the other criteria for me for Copy Chief was it's not going to be one of these places where people, they like post something and then, they squint and they duck and they were just waiting to get smacked, it's just, that's never happened. You believe in a year and a half, I've never once had to pull somebody aside and go, hey man, cut it out. What are you doing? Not one time. Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
It's just cool people. I think if somebody like a troll came in there, they would instantly realize, I'm in the wrong place. Like nobody wants to hear this,
No, or like spamming their stupid offers or whatever.
Right.
It would just not. I mean,
yeah, it would just stand up like a sore thumb or something. So,
yeah.
Awesome. So, but tell me now your victory as a copywriter though, because you have developed on your own bad self, and tell us that story.
Okay, so speaking of nerding out, see, this is my problem is I get an idea in my head. I'm like, oh my God. And then I deep dive into, I mean, if I get a bug in my brain, I'm just like, I have to figure it out. It's just OCD, but it harnessed in a really good way. So I started to go through all the trainings and stuff. And I have clients that I work with specifically on their branding package, right? Just to put some context to what their story and the why they do what they do and their brand personality, the whole nine, their perfect customer, et cetera. And so, so we went through this whole exercise. She's like, hey, I need copywriting. And I just was telling her, I'm like, well, I could post in Copy Chief. Long story short, she's been exploring different copy engagements. But she happened to say to me, hey, would you be interested in doing my email autoresponder sequence? Because I just love that you get my brand. Mm-hmm. And if she wouldn't have said that to me, I would have never seen myself in that light that I could do it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So I just went back to her branding profile that we put together, the whole brand story, blah, blah, blah. And I just started to I heard this amazing quote on a podcast, and I feel so bad that I don't remember who it was. It might have been John Carlton, just like a copywriting guru that said, turn your copy into, here's what I'm going to tell you about me, into me and you copy. Where you're literally envisioning that you're sitting across the table from someone and you're speaking to them. So I just kind of like, I put myself in that situation. We're like, okay, I'm sitting across the table. I'm embodying her brand. And then across the table is her perfect avatar, that person that we've constructed so deeply. And I just started putting myself in those shoes. And man, I just was like, nonstop. I went through the whole sequence in a day, and it was just freaking magic.
Wow.
So I sent it to her. I'm like, hey, tell me if you want any edits. And I was a little trepidatious about it. Mm-hmm. And she emailed back. She's like, literally, I'm crying. It's so, you've nailed it so deeply. Like, I can't express in my heart these words, and you got it. Oh my God. I was blown away.
That's
amazing.
Incredible. Look at that. You're a copywriter now.
Copy Chief.
That's exciting. So not so something cool. You're like going to hang your shingle out, but now you could do what, you prove it to yourself.
Yeah, it is. It's just really rewarding. And now, I mean, you know, we have inside of Copy Chief our email contest going on. I'm super incentivized by a t-shirt. So I'm like, I'll do anything for So we have a copy challenge going and I'm writing out my daily emails very much a la Ben Settle. It's just like, I love it. You know, I just riff on these ideas that we're talking about in the Morning Wood and just projecting it. And I've had people who've told me a couple of times already, they're like, I feel like because this is literally what I think. I feel like you're right in front of me, just like right across the table. Like I can talk to you like a couple of girlfriends, like just talking over a martini. Yeah. I'm like, boom, that's exactly what we wanted to represent. So
that's
good.
Great. I love it, you know, and that's to me like the big hidden bonus is if you like discover this copywriter within you. It's just because realize it's not that complicated, really, right? It's almost like you have to study it to figure out. They go, this isn't that complicated. It's like, you know, when you first look at it, and people have to talk about the dark art of persuasion and all these things and make it sound like some deep science, you know, and you're like, no, just say, it's, you know what I say? It's a transfer of enthusiasm, like any good,
I love that.
Any good sales, right?
Love that.
And you obviously have an ability to just not formalize it. If people would just stop formalizing so much, they'll be way ahead of the game. All right. So, Patty, we got to wrap up. This flew by. I knew it would. I hope you'll come back and do this again with us.
Oh, it would be my honor. I could talk about this stuff forever. So yes, anytime.
Cool. And I don't know, Jonathan didn't make it back. Maybe there was traffic or something. So thanks anyway, Jonathan, for the coffee. Patty won't get her coffee, but I'm gonna just drink yours, and because I really want to try coconut sugar. I've never heard of that. So
Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Highly recommend.
Sweet. All right. Thanks for doing this. We'll talk to you again soon. Patty Dominguez.
Thanks,
tell me, where do people find you? Boss Free Society, best place?
Yes. Or my business for small businesses is createbuzznow.com. Check us out there. You can hear more about the Morning Wood Show.
Awesome. Love it. See you there.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Copy Chief Radio. Thank you for tuning in. If you're digging what we are laying down for you, then your next step is to go over to iTunes, type in Copy Chief Radio into the search bar, and when you find the show, subscribe. We will be back in your earbuds next week.
This is the podcastfactory.com.